Hey guys, what's up? I'm back with another knife review, and this is actually going to be more of a discussion. I've got two knives here that I want to talk about, but I don't really like either of them enough to make a full review about either one. So I thought I would kind of just pool this into one, discussion, sort of about beater knives. These knives are both pretty cheap. They're both, plastic handles, sort of inferior blade steels, and they're both kind of trying to be more than they actually are, in my opinion. I guess we have to tailor our expectations in terms of price. If you're paying, these knives cost between $25 and $30 each. So obviously they're budget knives, so you can't really expect that much out of them in terms of design or quality, really. But I've sort of moved past the point where I buy really cheap knives. These are not mine, actually. They're borrowed. And I do have some less expensive knives, definitely. But I think I'm moving past the point where I really need to buy those like $20 to $30 to $40 knives. And if I'm going to buy something, it's going to be a little better. And I'm not ashamed of that, honestly. I think it's, if you know anything about knives, eventually you're going to sort of move up the food chain. That's how people sort of end up buying, the Hinderers and the Sabenzas and all that stuff. So anyways, let's talk about these knives one by one here for a second. So the first one is the Ka-Bar dozier. This knife is made in Taiwan, and you can recognize that by the cheap painted blade finish that they have on there. Reference like the Rat 1 and those Cold Steel, what are they, the Recon 1, the AK-47, and the American Lawman. Otherwise great knives, but I've held off buying those knives just because, well, one of the reasons anyways is that black finish. I just don't like it. Okay, so this knife, it's made of Aus-8 steel. It's hollow ground, and it's it's the lockup on this knife actually is one of the highlights. Like I don't really care for this knife all that much, but if I was to recommend somebody a knife to buy for like 20 something dollars, I don't know if this would be like the top of my list. There's probably others I would choose, truth be told, but if you did buy this knife, I don't think you would really regret it. The handle color is coyote brown. They have some other handle colors as well. I don't know what all of them are, honestly. So you've got a thumb stud as your deployment method, and I'm personally not good with thumb studs. This one I tried like flicking it open and I'm not even going to do it on camera because I'll embarrass myself, but I can't flick it open. The only way I can do it is just sort of like a push deployment. The lockup is just outstanding. I really can't say enough about that for like a 20 something dollar knife. It's as tight as a drum for sure. The handle size is pretty good actually for a smaller blade. The blade length is 3 inches. So the handle size is more than adequate. It fills my hand pretty nicely. I'm not going to say it's like the best handle in the world. Like the traction is kind of weak on it. The jimping is, nothing special, but you got to consider the price, I suppose. There are no steel liners inside this knife, so it ends up being very light. It comes out at about 2.4 ounces. So that is the Ka-Bar dozier. So now let's talk about the SOGZilla. This will probably remind you of another knife that I'm going to talk about in a minute, but obviously this design borrows as heavily as it could from our good friend Mr. Delica, and they also have a larger one that is probably very similar to an Endura, I'm assuming. This knife costs about $30, and I believe the blade steel is the 8CR13 MOV, so it's again sort of like a cheaper blade steel. I think this is made in China. Well, considering the, oh yeah, it says China on the blade there. And obviously the 8CR13 MOV is a Chinese blade steel. I do like this knife a little better than the last one. And I guess I'll compare them in a minute, but it's got the sort of mock spider hole deployment method, and I can flick this open, but it pretty much like destroys my fingernail in the process. So I'm not flicking it anymore. I tried it a few times and I'm not going to go that route. So it's kind of like the spider hole, but it's got that like little thing here, which I think is what's grabbing on my nail as I flick it open. So I can pretty much, same thing, only just push it open slowly. The handle traction it's okay. Like I like this handle a little better than the last one, but a huge difference between the two knives is this one does have steel liners inside, which probably accounts for the weight of the knife. This is a 4-ounce knife, believe it or not. I guess the blade length is probably similar to the dozier. I think, yeah, I think it looks like about 3 inches as well. You know, so I don't know. It's made in China. Okay, so it's got the deep carry pocket clip there. You know, and the handle is like a little textured. You know, it's full torque, so you can take it apart. That's cool. And I think this is the first SOG knife I've ever handled, in fact, that is not assisted, so that's interesting. It is pretty smooth, actually, opening. You know, it's not bad, actually. Like, lockbacks are never really that smooth, I suppose, but both of these knives are, you know, tight lockup, and, you know, they're both lockbacks. So if I had to choose one between those two knives, well, I don't know. That's a tough choice. I don't really like either of them, truth be told. Okay, so now I'm going to roll in the Delica here, and I love the Delica. This was my second knife that I ever bought. My first was a Tenacious, and look at that speed for a lockback. You know, I'm able to operate Spydercos so smoothly. You know, obviously the price difference is significant. You know, you could probably buy both those knives for this one, truth be told. But I don't see that as a bad thing. I would rather have one knife that I really like than two knives that I hate. You know, so the Delica is just, you know, it's one of those classic knives that if you've never had it, you should get it for sure. If you truly have had like a bunch of different knives, but you've never had a Delica or an Endura, which I'll show right now, you know, those are great knives without a doubt. Like, if I had only these two knives and nothing else, I would probably still be a very happy person in the knife world anyways. I've also got the Bird Caracara 2 here, and I can't say enough about that knife, truly. It's absolutely outstanding, and it's cheaper than both those knives. Or sorry, oops, not the Delica, definitely. It's cheaper than those. You know, it's a little bigger, but it's lighter than this knife, and it's around the same weight as that one. Let me just hold them to make sure. Yeah, this knife is so light, like you would really be amazed at it. If you're ever like on the fence and you've said, oh, I've wanted an Endura for so long, but I can't bring myself to spend $60 or $70, get a Bird Caracara 2. You will not be disappointed. So anyways, the discussion is gravitating towards what I like and away from what I don't like. You know, I don't like these kind of like awkward designs. Like, you can't, like, all three of these knives, I'll show you one by one now. I can open them all super fast. I showed you the Delica already, and here's the Endura as well. You know, just super smooth, super fast, you know, no cramping of the hands. All the ergonomics are wonderful, great traction on all the blades. Like, this one's made in China, you know, it's got the same blade steel as this one. But like, just in terms of ergonomics, they're like worlds apart. Like, this one sort of resides, it doesn't fit into the palm of the hand, there's no choil there. So it kind of cramps into this like lower section of the hand. And this one, by contrast, it kind of fills the hand. Like, it ends up down here somewhere. It's not like up here. I guess you could hold it like that, but I don't know why you would. It just naturally fits better in the hand. So I don't know. I think it's pretty hard to beat Spyderco, truth be told. You know, in terms of value, yeah, okay, these are kind of expensive, 60 or 70 bucks each. This one is like $22, $23. And great ergonomics, you know, acceptable blade steel, etc. And it's just, I really have a hard time convincing myself to buy anything from another manufacturer. Like, this knife is more expensive than that one, and it's heavier. The ergonomics are much worse, I would say, on the handle and on the blade as well. Just in terms of opening it, I can't do it quickly. You know, okay, maybe the pocket clip is better or something, but that's debatable. I really like that clip, actually. And you know, also, I just think this knife is ugly. And like, last of all, you basically stole the whole design from Spyderco. Like, all you did was take the Delica and sort of cheapen it and make it you know, make it in China. And Spyderco's already doing that. Like, they have like the Meadowlark or whatever, which is like very similar to the Delica, I believe. So I don't know. Like, I'm not a SOG fan, definitely. I've got a few knives by them, but I definitely won't be picking up more in the future. If I didn't already say this, these knives are borrowed, so it's just, you know, for general discussion, I would not buy those knives without a question. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, these knives, if you know nothing about knives and you happen to end up with one of these in your hand, well, you probably wouldn't be watching this video, but You know, if you did end up with one of these knives, you know, it's not the best or the worst knife in the world. It's probably adequate for a lot of things, actually. Same thing with this one. It's like if you want to spend 20 bucks and get a knife, and they're actually from, like, you know, fairly reputable manufacturers, like, go for it, you know. I don't think you'll be, like, hugely disappointed. But the thing is, you know, are you going to want to use this year after year? If you're into blades, like, these are not cool blades. You know, those are cool blades.